Welp, Ninjago is 10 years old now. It kind of makes me feel old. I remember back in the third or second grade when I first gotten into Ninjago back in 2011. I remember going to the Lego store and buying the little Kai set that they had for cheap. And I remember coming home and building that set, falling in love with it, and then buying the Cole set at Target. I really have a lot of emotional attachment to this series, and I really wanted to make this retrospective in honor of Ninjago. So, let's start out with the original concept for Ninjago and the pilot episodes for Ninjago, which aired both respectively in 2010 and 2011. Sorry about the incorrect information. The original trailer aired in 2009 on LEGO's YouTube channel. This showed the original concept trailer for Ninjago that was pitched by Dan and Kevin Hageman along with co-producer Tommy Andreasen. This differed a lot from Ninjago, but still has a lot of themes and elements still present in the series. First off, you have Garmadon and Wu's relationship, all the ninja being, fire, ice, earth, and lightning, and Garmadon having 4 arms. The only thing that changed drastically are the ninja's personality, names, and the fact that Garmadon didn't get 4 arms till Season 1 of Ninjago, which aired a year after the pilots. Looking at this trailer, and especially looking at the concept art, the teasers, the things that we were supposed to get with this version of Ninjago, it definitely would have changed the face of the franchise. I mean, the ninja were to go to some techno world, and they were going to fight wizards or something. All that crazy stuff that you wouldn't see nowadays. I mean, sure, we have rebooted and Prime Empire, but they're not as crazy as what they originally intended. Now, I know some elements from this original concept teaser actually has been put in the show, but damn, this is kind of crazy. Anyway, moving along, let's just get on to the pilot episodes, the thing that you guys have probably been waiting for. The pilot episodes of Ninjago are the definition of nostalgia. I and many others have fondness over watching these episodes, and especially the people who originally watched this in 2011, like I did, on YouTube or on Cartoon Network. These are definitely one of the highlights of the series. But when time moves on and we got the full-length series, these pilots just don't age that well. Kai is the only ninja with actual development. Jay, Cole, Zane, and Jay are just there. Sensei Wu is to serve as this Miyagi or Kung Fu Panda type sensei. The thing is that these characters don't really grow along with the story, and I get it. It's due to the runtime, and that these pilot episodes are only 3 to 4 episodes long, and they're I believe 8 to 17 minutes. But damn, it's kind of sad that we had to wait for the full-length TV series to finally get these characters to have their own personality. But the biggest downgrade has got to be Lord Garmadon himself. He isn't really the main villain. He's sort of like the Palpatine, and just like Palpatine, he isn't really that menacing of a villain. He isn't that great. He's just from the shadows. While Samukai is more like the Darth Vader. He's actually doing something. He's the one in the fight. And then Garmadon just leaves to, I believe, the Shadow Realm. It's been a long time since I've seen Season 1 of Ninjago. But that's not to say the pilot episodes are necessarily bad. They're bad compared to the TV show, but I certainly like rewatching them due to nostalgia. And I'm going to give these pilot episodes a 5 out of 10. After the pilot episodes aired, it received good attention, allowing Cartoon Network to pick this up for a show, and thus Ninjago became a full-length TV show starting in 2011. Rise of the Serpentine is leagues better than the pilot episodes. Well, to get the obvious out of the way, it has more episodes to further develop the ninja. Because, yep, that's right, the ninja actually got development, especially Nia. Nia has an alter ego, which is Samurai X. Jay has established parents. He's nervous. He likes Nia. Cole has daddy issues. Zane has dead daddy issues and personal issues. Kai just obsessively becomes the green ninja, but then he ends up saving Lloyd. And that's a new character, Lloyd. Lloyd ends up going through a Zuko-like arc where he becomes a bad boy to the green ninja in training. And we also see a little bit of development from Garmadon as he tries to not be evil and fuck everything up, but again, the evil in his veins are ruining his relationship with his son, and that ends up drastically affecting the events of the end of Season 1 and the events of Season 2. Speaking of Garmadon, I guess we should talk about his brother Wu. Wu has more of a character, but is still more of the sensei-type character. It fits perfectly in a full-length TV show than it did in the pilots, again, for the obvious reasons. And speaking of Garmadon, now that I brought him up, I'd like to mention one of the best Ninjago villains ever, Pythor P. Chumsworth. This guy, this motherfucker right here, literally aligned all the Serpentine tribes, which couldn't do it before, but he did it, and he unleashed the Great Devourer and caused chaos all over Ninjago. And boy, he is deliciously evil. I love him, and I love his voice actor. If you're watching this, hi, how are you? But yeah, Pythor is just a really great villain. Of course, there are some minor issues with this season. Of course, now that it's a full-length TV show, it does have a limited restriction on the budget. Ninjago City at the end of the Great Devourer arc feels unpolished. A lot of it feels like it was made in Minecraft. And a lot of the CGI and animation errors are present, and it will become eventually present until Sons of Garmadon or Hands of Time. Also, in my opinion, the season doesn't hold up that well. That's not to say it's a bad season, it's just because I prefer the other seasons, honestly. My opinion just changed over time, and I'm going to give Rise of the Serpentine a 6, or actually no, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Season 2, Legacy of the Golden Ninja, was planned to be the final Ninjago season, and then there was going to be a movie which was going to cap off the entire series. Season 2 feels like a long journey, because guess what? They're filler episodes, and these filler episodes have animation mistakes, and oh my god, it is awful. I mean, they're not bad, but like, they just slow down the pacing. And it's until Lloyd and the other ninja go into the museum where the plot actually starts moving. Actually, no. It's when Lloyd ages up. Yep, they forcefully aged up Lloyd. And do I have a problem with that? No. But do I have a problem with the filler episodes before? Yes. But I will say this. They aren't bad. As I keep on reinstating over and over again, the one with the pirates of Soto's crew, and the Ninja Ball Run episode, which is actually a reference to Part 7 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Steel Ball Run. Those two are actually fun episodes to watch. It's just the other episodes are kind of a pain to get through. Sure, we get more Serpentine screen time and more character development, but I don't know. It just feels like a long haul. When we get to the museum episode, we're almost halfway through the series, and it's like, why is this just happening now? The season is almost over. Why are we suddenly moving forward with the plot? But anyway, once the Dark Island section picks up, I gotta say, this is Ninjago, like, finally evolving. The whole Dark Island arc is probably the best Ninjago has to offer. The final battle with the Overlord and the Golden Master is probably one of the best moments of the series, but it is kind of stupid. The Overlord is kind of a generic villain, but it makes sense as he's the ultimate villain. Why not be the ultimate stereotype of a bunch of other villains like Palpatine? The ending is sweet and could serve as a solid end to the series. I mean, Garmadon came back to being good, and everything is peaceful in Ninjago. They killed the ultimate evil. Now what? Do they quit being ninja, or what? Who knows? But then again, Ninjago did get revived in 2014. So I guess we know. I'm going to give this season a 6 out of 10. Season 3, entitled Rebooted, which is honestly one of the most perfect names for a season, is a direct continuation from Legacy of the Green Ninja. I have to say, Season 3 is where the series really starts to evolve as it starts becoming more mature and more grown up. Sure, there isn't any edgy or dark stuff in here aside from Pixel dying, Zane's death, and of course the Cyrus Borg torture. Well, this season is a right step in the direction for Ninjago as it's becoming more mature along with the fans. I gotta say, it does have a bunch of stupid things, and just to name off the obvious one, it's a love triangle between Nia, Jay, and Cole. Yep, that's right, they forced in a love triangle as the main conflict for Rebooted, and it doesn't even get resolved till Tournament of Elements. Overall, it sort of makes Jay an asshole and Cole an asshole as well. I feel like Jay and Nia really deserve each other, and I'm not harassing you or saying that you're wrong just because you ship Nia and Cole. It's alright, but I don't know. It feels forced. I know I said I'd be talking about the main Ninjago series, but I have to talk about this. A good execution of Cole and Nia's relationship is found in D. Tenaglia Studios' Ninjago series. That's the best example of Cole and Nia getting together, and it's honestly better developed in the show, and it actually made me kinda like them as a couple. Back to the Ninjago TV series, the Overlord arc and Pythor coming back was probably one of the best things Rebooted has to offer, and it's probably the standouts of the series. I mean, the Overlord came back and he killed Zane and Zane killed him. That was awesome. And we finally get to see the Overlord's human version, and we see a return of the golden weapons and Pythor. Overall, this is just really good. And sure, Zane's death doesn't impact the new Ninjago viewers, especially my friend Cinema Freak, who is rewatching the show for the 10th anniversary. But it still holds up. Zane fucking died, and it's kinda sad, honestly. Overall, I'd rate Ninjago Rebooted a 7 out of 10. It's a step in the right direction, but there are some flaws that weigh it down. Overall, it is better than the first 2 seasons, and especially the pilot episodes. I definitely recommend watching this. Season 4 came out in early 2015, and oh my god, this was the latest Ninjago season to ever come out until Skybound. It came out in April of 2015 instead of January or February like every other season. I remember in early 2015, like around January, I was watching the earliest teaser for the Tournament of Elements episode. I think it was episode 2 or the end of episode 1, but this got me really hyped. Because Tournament of Elements is a damn good season. If it weren't for the newer seasons, then this would definitely be higher on my list. Tournament of Elements is where the Ninjago series actually starts to take risk. Sure, last season we got Zane essentially killing himself and the Overlord, but this season we actually got a true death. The death of the Anacondri generals Chen, Klaus, and Lord Garmadon himself. The final scene where Lloyd sacrifices his father is truly an iconic moment of Ninjago. I like the whole jungle aesthetic and the whole tournament arc of this season, as we're finally moving away from Ninjago City. Sure, we had the whole Dark Island arc, but that was mainly on like mountainous regions. Now we're finally in a jungle on an island off the coast of Ninjago. Also, this story actually brings a conclusion to the Cole versus Jay love triangle that they had in Rebooted, and they handled it in the most mature way possible, as Cole gives up winning the Jade Blade and he gives it to Jay, and it actually makes Cole and Jay grow into better characters. Speaking of characters, Zane is finally back after Ronin rebuilt him. Who is Ronin? Well, you're going to have to play a video game to find out. And no, I will not be covering that video game in this retrospective. Zane and Pixel together is actually a cool concept, but it sort of limits Pixel, which is why I don't prefer Pixel in Zane's head. And of course, we have the new Elemental Masters. It's kind of obvious that other elements would have been introduced in the show. I'm just surprised it took us 4 seasons just to get them. And also, Chen is a really good villain. Chen and Klaus both give me Pythor vibes, but since they're knockoff Anachondri, it sort of makes sense why they have a similar personality to Pythor. With all that out of the way, I'm going to give Season 4 Tournament of Elements a 8 out of 10. It's still a good season, and it still holds up to this day. Season 4 Possession is honestly better than the Tournament of Elements, and I'm saying this because I really love the Tournament of Elements and Possession as a whole. Originally airing in the later half of 2015, Possession started a new trend in Ninjago where the first half of the year we get one season, while the second half we get another season. This is a huge change for Ninjago, and it drastically affected how we would get new Ninjago seasons. So after Garmadon died in the Tournament of Elements season, Morrow actually escaped the Cursed Realm, and this starts something interesting. Lloyd, the Green Ninja, who is the main character after Kai for a majority of the show, is now the main villain, and the ninja will have to fight against him. This creates a good dynamic between Morrow, Lloyd, and Kai, as Kai actually takes leadership again, even though he's still a dumbass like he always was. And he actually, wants to save Lloyd. He takes so many risks just to fight Morrow, and it actually ends up paying dearly, as when they finally get the Realm Crystal, they end up sacrificing it just to save Lloyd. It honestly creates good conflict between the ninjas as they're forced to decide between Lloyd's life and the Realm Crystal. Speaking of the Realm Crystal, holy shit, that final battle with the Preeminent was awesome. And like Morrow and Lloyd going to different realms, a Chima callback, Garmadon dying, Nia's full potential, that was amazing. And I completely forgot to talk about it till now, but Nia becomes the Water Ninja this season. And it's actually really cool because, in the later seasons of Ninjago, Samurai X doesn't really do anything. She just gets captured or just stands to the side and doesn't really do anything or becomes evil. So because of those reasons, I personally feel like Nia becoming the Water Ninja was really good. The way how she became the Water Ninja and overcoming her fears of losing or giving up too easily, I think that really was handled well. And I think it was a really good life lesson for a bunch of people who just give up easily. Now, the final character introduced in Possession is Ronin. I know I mentioned him in the previous season, but now I'm going to talk about him now. Ronin is a good character. I love him so much. But the problem is that he's incredibly underused in the later seasons. He's either robbing something in the background or just doing nothing. I hope Season 14, The Island, really brings back Ronin's character and actually gives him a role to do this time. But with all that said, I'm going to give Possession a 9 out of 10. This is truly one of the best Ninjago seasons before the better Ninjago seasons, and it's a taste of what Ninjago can truly be. Ninjago Season 6, entitled Skybound, released in the early half of 2016, but it didn't come on Cartoon Network until July till August of 2016, which was really weird, and it showed that Ninjago was failing on Cartoon Network, but wasn't at the same time. I don't know, this was weird. But anyway, unpopular opinion alert, but I actually love Skybound. I love the whole pirate aesthetic and the whole jungle steampunk vibe that the Ninjago creators actually did with this season. They actually made the steampunk concept amazing, and they made it work with pirates, and I think they did it especially well this season. I think the air jitsu suits are fine. I don't really like Nia's suit because it looks too much like a darkened version of Kai. And yeah, also the new characters like the police commissioner, he's a fucking dilf. I love him. Notakon is a really good villain, and I love the Sky Pirates. Flintlock especially. The Bloom, I think his name was. He was amazing. And of course, Dogshank. She can crush me anytime. This whole season really made you worried for Jay because like all the ninja, excluding Nia, actually get trapped in the Sword of Souls, leaving Jay and Nia the only people left. And of course, Jay and Nia is a really cute couple. The thing is, I don't really like how they treated Jay in the Tiger Widow Island arc because, well, I felt like they abused Jay way too much. Sure, he sort of deserved it because, like, he's the one who released Notakon and has been lying, but still, I don't really feel like it's right for Jay to get that treatment. Episode 10, The Way Back, spoilers for Part 6 of JoJo, if you care, 3, 2, 1, is reminding me of Stone Ocean's ending, the way how Jolene died and Emporio had to reset the universe. I'm sorry I had to bring JoJo in this video, but it gave me that vibe, especially on rewatch. Overall, Skybound is a pretty cool season, and I actually enjoy it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Due to the constant rewrites of the LEGO Ninjago movie having been delayed till September 2017, Day of the Departed was originally going to be our Season 7, but due to this, they just changed it into a special. And oh boy, it is mediocre to say the least. But what's good about Day of the Departed? Well, the ninja suits are actually really good. They have the armor pauldrons from Skybound. Their armor is actually a mix between their pilot outfits and their ZX outfits, which is actually pretty cool. All of the villains, excluding Lord Garmadon for obvious reasons, coming back was actually a pretty good concept, and I like that Pythor returned. And I also like how Morrow still has his character development. Morrow isn't an inherently bad guy, he was just under the wrong influence because he wanted to be the Green Ninja. And I'm glad it still carries over to the Day of the Departed special. Now on to the bad stuff. Sensei Yang is kind of a pathetic villain, if I'm being honest. He has okay motivations, like he wants to be remembered, like, wow, what an attention whore. Okay, all jokes aside, his motivation is just to be remembered, so he wants to live forever. But because of that, he became a ghost, and that's why the Air Jitsu Temple is up in the sky, and why he has ghost students. The ending is pretty rushed to the point where freaking China, out of all countries, gets a alternate version of Day of the Departed, which, by the way, it still hasn't been dubbed in English or any other language. So with all that said, I'm just going to give Day of the Departed a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I don't like Hands of Time. Let's just get forward with this section. So, this came out before the movie, and it is the last season featuring the ninjas' original designs before the movie changes. And since the movie changes, a lot of people have gone back and said Hands of Time is single-handedly the best season ever. No, it isn't. Animation-wise, it is worse than the first season. Like, we have come so far, and yet the animation looks awful. For me, the models are way too shiny, and the brightness is way too high, and it's also way too low to the point where you can't even see anything. And the action is a little bit slower than the previous seasons. Fists don't feel fluid at all. The Hands of Time themselves, Crux and Acronix, are some of the weakest villains in the original Ninjago series. And oh boy, we haven't gotten to the reboot section yet, so you know they're definitely worse. But, like, their whole boomer versus technology type ideals is so repetitive, and they even did it again in Prime Empire. I'm so sick of this. And, like, the whole time travel, like, themes of this season doesn't even make sense because time travel as a concept is just complicated, and I don't think anyone has understood that except for Back to the Future, maybe. But there are some positives about the season. The ninja suits are actually kind of good. I don't really like Kai's suit that much, or Zane's suit, since Zane's suit just makes him look naked. Lloyd's suit is probably the best, along with Nia. The new Samurai X was actually pretty good, and the ending of Hands of Time is probably why this season is watchable. Overall, I'm going to give Hands of Time a 6 out of 10. It is not good. Thank God I don't have to talk about it anymore. With Hands of Time finally finished, I guess all we need to do now is review the Lego Ninjago movie. But I don't have the strength to review this movie. I wish I had someone to record this with.
What?
Whoa!
It's Cinema Freak. What's he doing here?
Former Lego fan and Ninjago viewer who didn't see the series past season 2?
That's me.
What are you doing here?
I don't know. I just kind of fell off my car and just landed right outside your door, so I'm here.
Oh no. Is Toru coming back?
Very well, maybe.
Oh god, I don't want to start the Toru Saga season 2.
It's gonna have to happen, buddy, because I'm here.
Well,
and
do you want to talk about the Lego Ninjago
here to
movie?
review that Lego Ninjago movie.
Are you sure you have the strength to do it?
I kinda do.
Alright, let's do it! So, the Lego Ninjago movie came out in 2016. It originally started production in 2013, and it was originally supposed to come out in 2016, but then got delayed, which is why we got Day of the Departed instead of Season 7. Now, this film, of course, had a lot of drama behind it, but we're not here to talk about that. I'm saving that for the Season 8 section. But anyway, Cinema Freak, what are your thoughts on the Lego Ninjago movie as a whole?
The truth is, when I first watched this, it had been a long time since I watched the show, so I didn't really make as many comparisons. I didn't even really think about the fact that, it's supposed to look a little bit more similar to the show than as opposed to the other Lego films, because...
Which explains, the style of the movie and how most objects are, real instead of made out of Lego.
Exactly.
The water.
The thing that separates this from the other Lego movies is that it's not like a satire of what it is. It's more like straightforward representation of what it's supposed to be. It's not a Lego adaptation of just Batman. It's a Lego adaptation of something that's already Lego. So, you don't have, all those, unique things you'd see in Lego Batman or the Lego movie where everything is Lego and the characters move as if they would be stop motion. This actually feels like it's regularly animated. Which, second time watching, I was kind of put off by, but I've come to realize that that's kind of the style that we're going for, and I can understand.
So, now talking about the plot is about the Super Ultra Ninja Force team, who are, the defenders of Ninjago, and they defend the city from Garmadon on a daily basis. But did you know they have a dark side to them? They're high schoolers, not real high schoolers, but they do make a lot of references to Ferris Bueller's Day Off and The Breakfast Club. Hell, even the ninja is kind of a reference to The Breakfast Club if you really think about it.
Exactly. Actually, comparisons have been made to Power Rangers, which came out the same year.
Oh yeah, I did.
I think that was a good time to mention that this movie actually makes a lot of differences from the show. That's why people who love the show and are big fans of it really didn't like this movie because of everything they changed.
And I know
it's completely different.
And I know I said I was going to talk about this in the Season 8 review, but dear God, we got to talk about this.
Talk about what?
Guys, I'm sorry I had to do this to you guys. I'm exposing you all. The Ninjago fanbase was fucking awful when this movie came out. So basically, everyone was whining about how this film just changed the designs of the original characters. Kai had longer hair and more was representative of Japanese anime. Jay looked like MatPat from Game Theory. Lloyd got older. Cole had a man bun and his hair got longer. Nia, she didn't look ugly as shit. She actually got a beautiful ponytail now. And Zane was more robotic. Guys, the Lego Batman movie also did changes to the Batman universe. Barbara Gordon was more Latino or black, I honestly don't know. And along with Catwoman, they were darker skin color. and no one complained about that. So why are you guys complaining about the redesigns? But I want Cinema Freak's voice on the redesigns.
Again, I never really had problems with the redesigns, like the designs of their characters. It never bothered me. It's just so many other things, like story-wise, that kind of bothered me. I think, like, what I gotta mention in terms of the other characters is that I really, really don't like that the other characters are so sidelined. Like, this is all Lloyd's story, but the other characters, they're just kind of there. Like, a good representation of this is Zane. Like, in the show, he was, like, a really good character with, like, his development and all, but now he's just a robot who just has a few lines. And Kai was the main character at the beginning of, like, the show, and including, like, the beginning pilot series, and now he barely has a few lines.
So, speaking of that, okay, it took a toy commercial that was released 1 week before the movie came out for the fans of the movie and Ninjago as a whole to finally hear Kai and Cole's voice 1 week before the movie came out. That's how little screen time and lines they have in this movie. And it's kind of depressing to me as like a Kai fanboy because like my favorite ninja got sidelined for Lloyd Garmadon.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize until like the credits that Michael Pena was voicing Kai. Like, really? Like, I could never hear him.
And this, so I was actually doing a lot of research on this movie, which is why I know so much and I can talk about it like an annoying fanboy. I had to look up so many commentary videos, like, you know, fake behind-the-scenes type videos for the Ninjago movie, just to find out that Michael Pena is voicing Kai, and just to hear Kai and Cole's voice in the movie, because for the longest time we didn't hear their voices till the movie came out. That's kind of sad.
It's quite garbage.
Now that we're on the topic of voice actors, Cinema Freak, how do you feel about the Hollywood voice actor change? Do you wish they had the original TV show voice actors, or do you wish they had the movie voice actors?
Well, if I'm being honest, no, I don't wish they had the TV show voice actors. This is a completely different story. It's not the same as the show, and I feel like people really needed to realize that.
That's the difference between this movie and Scoob 2020.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And, you know, with Scoob, like, the voice actors, like, that was a problem. They didn't sound like their original counterparts. Like, throughout the history of Scooby-Doo, like, even if they use different voice actors, they always kind of sound like their original versions. But
even the reboot.
Yeah, but with the new one, yeah, that was kind of a problem. And here, I don't know. I kind of have a problem with some of the voice actors, like...
Well, first off, we gotta give credit where credit is due. Jackie Chan is Sensei Wu.
Yeah, like, sure he doesn't sound anything like Sensei Wu from the show, but that's a good change. I'm okay with that, because it's...
And Jackie Chan actually did, like, a lot of the stunts, like, a lot of the fight scenes were actually motion captured by Jackie Chan and a team of martial arts students.
Exactly. So it takes advantage of the fact that it's not like the other Lego films by kind of feeling like an actual action film.
And Dave Franco as Lloyd. Cinema Freak, of course we made that joke at the beginning, but Cinema Freak is actually catching up on Ninjago. He hasn't gotten to Season 8, but since I have and caught up with the show, Dave Franco sort of sounds like Sam Vincent, if I'm being honest, the new voice actor for Lloyd. Now, Cinema Freak, what do you think about Dave Franco as Lloyd, since you haven't heard the new Lloyd voice actor?
Yeah, he's great. And remember, I was always used to, like, who played him before.
Jillian Michaels?
Yeah, a literal woman. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of nice to have an actual man coming out of his voice. And plus, he's just... has a good performance as the character. It was a good voice acting.
How about Abby Jacobson as Nia?
Yeah, she was fine. I'm not a big fan of Jay, if I'm being honest. It kind of, honestly, like,
Nanji.
yeah, because I don't know. I really loved his voice in the show. He was always really funny, and now he's just kind of like, hello.
I'm awkward and quirky. Ooh, it's
They don't get them quirks, you know.
So Cole, what do you think about Cole?
I don't even remember his voice.
Exactly!
I don't remember his voice.
So, Michael Peñas as Kai.
I mean, I guess he's fine.
And
didn't hear his voice that much. Zane, he's just a robot.
Now, Justin Theroux as Garmadon.
Okay. I actually really liked Garmadon in this film. So yeah.
And finally, what was her name? She was in X-Men and she voiced Coco, Misako.
Truth is, I don't know the voice actor's name.
Well, what do you think about Coco?
Coco is the
Misako.
Okay. Well, first off, I really don't like that they changed Misako into a completely different character.
Well,
like,
this is an original story, as you stated.
yeah, I guess, but still, it's kind of like, again, a lot of differences from the show. But yeah, she's fine.
I wish they did more with her, honestly. Like, I get it, she's not supposed to be an important character, but come on, let me see Lady Iron Dragon again.
Yeah, and yeah, voice acting, whatever.
Yeah, they're cool, I guess. Now we're going to talk about the original concept. Unlike Cinema Freak, I actually, dug deep into this movie. I wanted to see if there was a better version of the Ninjago movie that's been planned since 2013 and 2016. Well, apparently the film that we were going to receive is a time-traveling film. The clips are actually released on YouTube. I'll leave a link in the description down below. But basically, they were going to go back in time, stop Garmadon from being bitten by the Great Devourer, and fight alongside with him while Lloyd and Garmadon fought together. And it was going to be an epic war movie filled with the Enachondri, the Serpentine race as a whole. Maybe we could have seen some elemental masters like the Tournament of Elements. So Cinema Freak, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh god, that would have been awesome. Okay, I mean, yeah, you gotta remember, like, there was a lot of production issues with this film. Did you know that, like, this movie has been confirmed ever since, like, the first trailer of the first Lego movie? Yeah, that's how long it's been.
Yeah,
like,
I literally said it was confirmed in 2013. Like, it
It's
starts
like-
production.
Yeah, so, yeah, they clearly had ideas, but they just kind of went with this plot where they have to murder a cat, so... am I wrong?
We forgot about the cat.
Yeah, so Lloyd unleashes a cat into Ninjago.
It's
so.
fucking stupid, but so are the other Lego movies. Like, come on. A ticking time Clone High reference for the Lego Movie 2.
Yeah, I mean, these always have weird plots, but we kind of just go with it.
Because it's funny. We need to talk about the Lloyd Garmadon movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best part of the film, and that would be their bond. I actually, like, really enjoyed how they kind of, like, learned
Who's
from each other.
Bond?
I'm talking not about James Bond, but their bond. And it's,
Lloyd and Garmadon's bond.
once again, not as great as the show, but I kind of like how...
It developed over the film.
Yeah, and you can kind of show just how much this has hurt Lloyd and, like, how it affects Garmadon, because he kind of realizes something. It's kind of called a character arc. And, we even hear a Jim Croce song where it, like, yeah,
But
Lloyd
again-
learns how to throw. It's fun and all, but,
But again, this really is the biggest flaw of the movie. Like, sure, it's the best point of the movie, but it's the main focus of the movie that drags the other ninja down, and they're barely used at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to make changes in the show, but the main thing you gotta get right is to realize that this is a show about the team. That's like if a Power Rangers movie was focused on just one of the characters and just the others do nothing.
It's like if the Mandalorian focused on Grogu instead of the Mandalorian himself.
I guess it's a comparison, but yeah.
That's the marketing.
So I wasn't a big fan of how they did that.
So overall, this film had a big impact on the Ninjago fandom and the Lego Movie fandom as a whole. When it was first released, it got a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, 1 out of the 3 Lego movies at the time to actually get a rotten score. None of the other Lego movies got a rotten score, not even the Lego Movie 2. And it was kind of disappointing. People hated it, some fans of the Lego Movie hated it, Ninjago fans despised this movie. And then we got San Diego Comic-Con 2017, and everyone hated the trailer for Sons of Garmadon. Because it was like, oh, they're changing Lloyd to become the Ninjago movie version. What's going on? Why is Jillian Michaels being replaced with Sam Vincent, the voice actor for Laval on Legends of Chima? So, yeah, I'll talk about it more in the Sons of Garmadon discussion, but I'm really disappointed in the fan outcry of the Ninjago fandom when this film came out and the changes that it did to the TV show. and also how a majority of the fans actually harassed the writers, Ken and Devin Hagman, Tommy Andreasen, and some of the voice actors. So good job, Ninjago fandom. We're now the Star Wars fandom. Welcome to the start of the Oni Trilogy. Today we're going to be talking about Sons of Garmadon, and I just gotta say, before I start off this segment, I just want to talk about the controversy behind this season. I know I already talked about it in the Ninjago Movie review, but I want to go more into it here. So basically, at San Diego Comic-Con 2017, it was revealed that Sons of Garmadon is coming out in 2018. But they also said that they're using the redesigns for the ninja, but are keeping some of the redesigns. They did not specify which, but all the ninja would keep their redesigns from the movie, aside from Zane, because, well, he's a titanium ninja. And a lot of the redesigns are actually well needed, like Lloyd was getting older, Nia looked ugly with her bob cut, and Cole was also getting older, along with Kai. And Jay, yeah. So a lot of fans started to act like a bunch of Star Wars fans. For example, they harassed Dan and Kevin Hagman, the creators of Ninjago, and the co-creator of Ninjago, Tommy Andreasen, along with the voice actors and LEGO themselves. It was pretty embarrassing to be a Ninjago fan around this time, but then Sons of Garmadon came out. People still had mixed feelings, but everyone thought it was a really good season. Sons of Garmadon revolves around the resurrection of Lord Garmadon. It features a bunch of biker gang cults who hunt down the 3 Oni masks who can summon Garmadon, but it's the evil version of Garmadon with no humanity left in him. This season has a lot of drama and more intense situations than ever before. This is where Ninjago actually starts to get mature. I know I said that multiple times throughout the video, but this time I actually mean it. The battle between Lloyd and Garmadon in Cryptarian prison, Harumi being revealed as the quiet one and saying, she killed the Emperor and Empress because she didn't feel like they were her real parents because her real parents were killed in the fight of the Great Devourer. It's basically echoing Batman vs. Superman, but that movie was actually well written. Season 8 just feels more intense than any other season, and the animation has gone up. Fights are more fluid than Hands of Time. The animation is just so gorgeous, especially during the final battle during Garmageddon. That's truly showing how evolved this series is. Words cannot describe how much I love Sons of Garmadon and how much it is a step in the right direction for Ninjago. So I'm going to give it a perfect 10 out of 10. After the cliffhanger ending of Sons of Garmadon, Ninjago continued later on in 2018 with the 9th season entitled Hunted. At first, I didn't really like Hunted, but on rewatch, I actually like it even more. It's not better than Sons of Garmadon, but I like it when they transition from the land of the Oni and the Dragon to Ninjago. I also love the contrast between Ninjago and the realm of the Oni and Dragon. Ninjago is such a despair-ridden city. Lloyd is filled with despair. He's so sad and heartbroken because they don't know that the ninja used the Traveler's Tea. So Lloyd and Nia know that the ninja are dead. They don't know they're in the realm of the Oni and Dragon. While the realm of the Oni and Dragon is more lighthearted, but it does have its moments of sadness as, Faith loses hope. And, the ninja are captured by Iron Baron. And Iron Baron is basically Twitter in a nutshell. Speaking of Iron Baron, he murdered the Ultra Dragon from Season 1 and Season 2. You want to know why that dragon didn't come back? It was resting in the realm of the Oni and Dragon, and it died. So, yeah, now you have a reason to hate the Iron Baron. And I love Iron Baron's death. He just gets melted by the mother of all dragons, Firstborn, and I really, really love that scene so much. And, speaking of death, Harumi dies. Garmadon fucking kills Harumi with the Garmageddon mech thingy. And it's, oh my god, it's amazing. The final fight between Lloyd and Garmadon, I wish it would have been Lloyd and Wu, but then again, it does make sense that it's Lloyd versus Garmadon all over again like in Legacy of the Green Ninja. And of course, Garmadon gets arrested and gets sent to the deepest vaults of Kryptarian prison. And it actually makes sense. Sure, I would have preferred a more satisfying conclusion, but then again, this is pure evil Garmadon. Like, he's not gonna turn good anytime now. With all that said, I'm going to give Season 9 Hunted a 9 out of 10. To celebrate the 9th anniversary of LEGO Ninjago, LEGO decided to remake all the original sets from Ninjago Season 1 and 2 under the sub-theme entitled Ninjago Legacy. We did not get any sets for Season 10, but we did get a special, and it's sort of like a movie. It's called Ninjago March of the Oni, and it serves as a satisfying conclusion to the end of the original series of Ninjago. At first, I used to dislike March of the Oni, but now I actually like it. I feel like the Cold death was handled a little bit too dramatically. Like, of course they're not going to kill off Cole. Well, now they probably are, but anyway. Yeah, I personally like this. I like the more dramatic feel of this. It feels like Sons of Garmadon and Hunted if those two were mixed together, and it has a post-apocalyptic feel about it, much more than the LEGO Movie 2, honestly. But anyway, the animation, just like before, is fluid as always. The golden weapons return after all these years. Lloyd becomes the golden ninja, and the ninja take down the Omega. And sure, the Omega is weaker than, Iron Baron and Garmadon and Harumi, but it's still an okay villain. And of course, we get the return of Faith, but we also get more lore. Garmadon actually turns into an Oni, and sure, it looks stupid, but it still looks good at the same time. And of course, we also see the first Spinjitzu Master fully for the first time in forever. So I'm going to give March of the Oni a 8 out of 10. Yikes. What happened, Ninjago? You were so good in the Oni Trilogy, and then this happened. Ninjago Season 11, Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu. The Fire chapter came out in late 2019, and it's probably one of the worst Ninjago seasons aside from Prime Empire, but we'll get to that later. This is what I and many other fans like to call the Ninjago reboot, considering that they got rid of the Masters of Spinjitzu subtitle and just kept it as Ninjago. Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu is primarily bad because of one thing: tonal issues. It wants to be a comedy, it wants to be dark and serious, but it keeps on balancing these three very poorly. There's more comedy than dark moments, and there's more dark moments than comedies. It's this weird mutation of a season, and I honestly don't like it. Wasted True Potential is a good example of this. Actually, the entirety of the Fire chapter is a good example of this. It just doesn't know if it wants to be serious or a comedy, and it lacks any good writing as it had before. It feels like Hands of Time. Speaking of Hands of Time, the animation also feels like Hands of Time. It looks more like the LEGO Movie instead of its own thing. Aspira is a pretty weak villain. She's on the same levels of weak as Unagami and... who is the other one? Oh yeah, Samukai. She just wants revenge, and that's it. All because Wu stood up against her and took the throne against her. Like, come on, Ninjago. You made one of the best villains ever with Garmadon, Pythor, Harumi, and the Iron Baron, and you're giving us this crap now? What is this, Hands of Time? Moving on from the Hands of Time slander, I'm just gonna give the Fire chapter a 4 out of 10. Aside from the ending, this part is actually really weak, honestly. What's this? A good Ninjago season in the reboot? Yeah, the Ice chapter is actually really good. It takes most of the serious elements from the previous Ninjago seasons and actually uses it to its advantage. I really like a lot of the characters, like the Abominable Snowman that Cole meets. That was pretty nice. They did an avatar, and they made Nia able to turn water into ice, and vice versa. Too bad she never uses it ever again, just like Air Jitsu. So anyway, I'm going to give the ice chapter of Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu an 8 out of 10. Ugh, do I really have to talk about this? Fine. In the earlier half of 2020, we got this abomination, Season 12 of Ninjago, entitled Prime Empire. And it is by far the worst Ninjago season to have come out. I don't get why people praise this season outside of young children or people who are heavily devoted to this franchise, but this season isn't good. And I'm going to talk about why it isn't good. So the main problem that I have, it's basically a video game season. That alone is my main problem. Usually when video games are represented in television shows, they usually go with the same Pac-Man, Mario, whatever is currently trending that's going to be outdated at one point type stuff that no one ever gets. And they feel soulless. They don't feel like, a real gamer actually played this. I know that makes me sound like a gatekeeper of gaming, but as a critic of this show, I have to judge this show. And I'm judging it because I feel like the whole video game aesthetic of Prime Empire doesn't really work for Ninjago, and they didn't really incorporate it that well. There are still tonal issues, just like in the Fire chapter of Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu. It tries to be serious with the ninja dying and being turned into energy cubes and Harumi coming back and Okino's story, but it just doesn't work with the amount of comedy they throw in. It doesn't feel like I should care, and it doesn't feel like the writers actually cared. Onigami is one of the worst Ninjago villains to have ever come out of this series. He's just a virus that wants to go after his creator but ends up turning into a child. How lame and boring can you get? But I will say this, Okino is a good character. He's a former samurai who's sick of being a video game character, and I actually thought he was handled well, and I'm glad he actually stayed in Ninjago. I hope he returns one day, probably as a cameo and not like a full character, but I just want to see more Okino. And the episodes in Ninjago City, excluding that one Zane episode where he's a detective because, oh my god, that was awful, are actually pretty decent. They're still not good, but they're decent, especially at the beginning where the ninja are going into Prime Empire and we get a return of the past villains. That was pretty cool. Speaking of the past villains, I forgot to mention in my Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu review, we have anime and Ninjago now. As an anime fan, I just gotta say, oh my god, that's not anime at all. That's American imitation of anime. Holy fuck, that looks so stale. Just like Prime Empire, the anime episodes have no effort in them at all. And I'm going to give Prime Empire a 2 out of 10. Don't watch this season, just skip to Master of the Mountain. Master of the Mountain came out later on in 2020, and it's an acquired taste. I actually like Master of the Mountain on rewatch, especially when it came out on Netflix. Master of the Mountain is about the ninja journeying to the city of Shintaro, battling the Skull Sorcerer and freeing the mercs and the geckos from slavery, while also figuring out the secrets of Lily, Cole's mother. I gotta say, this season is actually kind of I want to say rebooted, or possibly Legacy of the Green Ninja. It's not as serious as the Oni Trilogy, but it's still serious and jokey enough. There's less comedy and more focus on characters. Sure, I don't like the 3 Upleys, but I think Princess Vanya is an okay character, and this actually gave Cole some development, and I actually think that's pretty cool. The Skull Sorcerer is an okay villain. One thing that I forgot to mention, but I'll mention it now, all 4 villains of the Ninjago Reboot series are actually not invading Ninjago. Aspira only wanted revenge on Wu, The Ice Emperor was actually Zane, trapped in another dimension. Unagami is just pathetic, and the Skull Sorcerer just wants to be rich. I actually like these as they differentiate from the original series. The Geckos and the Merts, I think that's what they're called. It might just be a name of one of the troll characters, but anyway, they're alright. I found the Geckos to be annoying, and some parts with the Mert Queen herself, Quintessa, I believe her name was, to be annoying, and it got on my nerves a lot. But that doesn't weigh down this season as much as Prime Empire or Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu did. Overall, Master of the Mountain is a pretty decent season, but I definitely prefer the Oni Trilogy over this and a bunch of other Ninjago seasons. That's not to say this season is necessarily bad, it's just that I prefer the other seasons. But hey, this is good on its own, so I definitely recommend watching it. Plus, it barely acknowledges Prime Empire outside of one reference. And I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Holy shit, I forgot to mention one more thing. Master Wu's conflict in Master of the Mountain is actually one of the better things about Master of the Mountain. Master Wu is getting old, obviously, and he feels weak and useless, and this season, Cole and the other ninja are motivating Master Wu to become a master again and teach him again. Sure, they're masters, but they still have a lot to learn. I mean, in Season 11, they just found out about Forbidden Spinjitzu. Now Cole is finding out about the Spinjitzu Burst. And I actually really like this conflict. Anyway, let's move on to Season 14. Yikes, I lied. Yep, that's right. Ninjago Season 14 isn't out yet, but it is coming out in March of 2021 this year. And I'll actually be doing a review on the season when it finishes. But yeah, currently we don't have any information aside from the title name, the island, which is pretty stupid, and what the ninja are doing. They're stranded on an island, they need to fight a villain called Manamantis. Sensei Wu isn't there, and since the passing of Kirby Moro, rest in peace, happened, then we don't know what's going on, especially with the tweets from Tommy Andreasen saying, one ninja will drastically change, one ninja will die. Yeah, I don't think the future is looking bright for Cole, and I don't think they'll replace Cole. And we don't know that much about Season 15, aside from it's a Nia-focused season. Nia gets a water dragon, Kai gets a fire dragon, Lloyd gets a mech, a hydro mech, and the Destiny's Bounty. That's all we know about Season 15. And yeah, I hope Season 14 and Season 15 actually go the same route as the Ice chapter in Secrets of Forbidden Spinjitzu. Possibly go in a more darker way, considering that this season is apparently going to be more dark and edgy, apparently, according to Tommy Andreasen, the co-creator of Ninjago. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Happy 10-year anniversary to Ninjago. Thank you for changing my life forever. I just don't know how else to thank you, aside from doing this retrospective. Anyway, I'm tired, so good night, and see you guys in another video.